Hello CFI family, Greg Orr, President of CFI. Today we've got 4 special guests with us today, and we want to just talk a little bit about what's going on at CFI. So we're going to just go around the horn real quick, introduce ourselves. Randy, you want to start off?
Yeah, sure. Randy Cornell, Vice President of Maintenance.
Mike Servine, Vice President of Sales and Mexico Operations.
Jeff Arnold, the Director of Safety.
Dustin Quisenberry, Vice President of U.S. Operations.
Well, welcome guys. Glad to have each one of you here. So let's start off, Jeff. I know we've been really putting some effort around putting the event recorders in place for our drivers today. Now, first and foremost, why would we do this? What's the reasoning that we're taking a hard look at putting event recorders in place today?
Well, to protect our biggest asset. Our drivers are our biggest asset here at CFI, and event recording technology is a way to protect that, and we've already seen some success with that. The technology is not new to the industry. It's proven that it can protect a driver's record. It can exonerate our drivers in unique situations. About 80%, to be exact, of the accidents that we're involved in are not our fault, yet unfortunately we wind up on the wrong end of that claim in some cases. So we look forward to getting to 100% as a fleet so we can see the full benefit of this type of technology.
Yeah, and as you talk about it, one of the things that our sister company, Transport America, has had cameras for quite some time, and I think, when you look at those event recorders, you and I both have seen many instances where they've been exonerated in situations where, in 9 times out of 10, we would have been charged as a carrier. And it's as much as important to make sure that our professional drivers are taken care of, more so than the financial side of it, to your point. So there's a lot of benefits, and I know that as we go in time, they'll see that. But I guess one of the questions that I've heard recently is a little bit of concern about the inward facing. So what's the deal with the inward facing?
Well, there is no inward facing. Just to put it, just to get right to the point, we do not have the camera inward facing activated. As part of the process, we did go ahead and install it, but it's not active. There is power to the unit, but it does not record as the forward facing camera does. We have, in a few situations, used it as like a condition of employment. Unfortunately, if a driver gets caught with a handheld device or not wearing the seatbelt, we really look for a way to coach that driver and overcome that exposure, that liability, and so what we've been able to do is just activate the inward-facing cameras. Every driver that has we've had to approach because of that has been very receptive to that. And we've benefited from it greatly with the way we've been able to coach to those behaviors.
Yep.
So, but there is unfortunately, a lot of drivers that don't believe that that's not active.
Yeah.
And I can't stress enough that it's just not. It costs more to do that. We're not prepared at this time to absorb those costs to activate the inward-facing cameras. We don't feel there's a need. We think our drivers can manage themselves and their behaviors as far as distracted driving and following the regulations, and so we don't see a need to do that. But unfortunately, or it is an option at this time that we didn't used to have. But we just don't sit around and watch drivers on an inward-facing camera. We got a few other things to take care of.
Agreed. And to be honest, I think from our perspective, as to your point, we'd have to have probably 50 more people if we were going to monitor and manage the inward-facing at this point in time, and we're not in a place to go hire that for many reasons, right? So at the end of the day, it's really about making sure that we're taking care of our outward-facing and managing that situation as well as we can. So.
Very true.
Good. So, hey, one last thing. What do we got coming up at the end of May, early June?
We got the Truck Driving Championships, Missouri Trucking Association Truck Driving Championships. It's May 31st and June 1st. Great event. We've got, I think, 16 drivers participating this year that have earned the right. That's a big word there, is they've earned the right because of their safety records. No accidents, no citations, been with the company for a long time. And have, again, earned the right to represent CFI at this pretty prestigious event. They'll take a written test that they're all studying hard for. They'll do a pre-trip that is witnessed and graded by Missouri State Highway Patrol. And then they'll do a skills test on a very tight and difficult course. And we've took home some trophies in the past.
Yep.
But we're greedy, and we want to take home more, all of them,
Yep.
to be exact. So anyway, we're looking forward to it, and I think we're going to have a good showing down there this year.
Yeah, we need to bring some brass home this year, a lot more than we did last year, especially the team trophy. That's the one we want. So,
Yes, sir.
all right. So thanks for that, Jeff. So, Mr. Randy, one of the things that recently we've heard a little bit of conversation about is collision mitigation. And I know that you and I have spent a lot of time with our third-party vendor as well as our Kenworth OEM group and trying to figure out how do we tweak and refine and make it better, right? So first and foremost, why do we have it? And when did we put this in place?
Yeah, we started putting the collision avoidance systems on the trucks back in. We started in about 2012 testing some of them, and the intent of this product is to help protect our drivers. Things happen, and we understand that, and this is an opportunity for the drivers to maybe get an alarm to be able to help them to avoid a collision in front of them.
Yep.
So the whole intent of this was to help to preserve our drivers' great records so that they don't have these issues going forward, and that it will help to protect them should something unexpected happen that they weren't aware of.
Yeah, and now, so we've had these on for quite some time, and I know recently, kind of off and on, we've had some instances where it's recognizing bridges, right? And what appears to be a low bridge, and in a lot of cases it may or may not be, but it's triggering something, right? And I think a couple things that we want to make sure and hit on is, one, we've gone through multiple updates with this thing, and we've been on the phone with Meritor I don't know how many times trying to make sure that they understand the importance of, number one, our driver's safety first and foremost, but the motoring public as well. So can you give us a little bit of insight as to what all the efforts that you've put in place with your team to address some of these challenges and what we're coaching Meritor on to hopefully get some additional work done on the tool and the system as we get farther in with the relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when they started installing those in 2012, they had radar units, and you had this special alignment tool that you had to make sure the truck was level, and you had to do all this alignment and everything. They've made vast improvements in that radar unit to where now it is self-aligning. So once you start driving, it will self-align itself for a while. And I don't know exactly, but it's about 50 or 100 miles or so it takes for it to get aligned once it's installed. But typically, once it's aligned, it unless something bumps it or something, it never has to be aligned again. But so they've made improvements in that technology. They've made improvements in the software itself. They have, back in January of 2017 was the last update that they have done at this point. And basically the reason that they did that was because they were getting a lot of false positives on bridges, and
Yep.
typically bridges and bridge signs. So they made some changes to the software, and they eliminated about 80% of those false alarms. There's still that 20% out there that gets false alarms, and it could be something as simple as maybe just a light coming on, up to, we've seen up to situations where it would actually take away the cruise control or take away the throttle. I don't know, Jeff may know better than I know, but I don't know that we've actually seen a haptic warning on an actual bridge. Have we seen a haptic warning on a bridge?
No, not to my knowledge.
So let me explain the haptic warning. So when the radar indicates that there's something out there, it's going to give you a light, then it's going to give you a noise, and then it's going to, and if the driver doesn't do something, it's going to give you what's called a haptic warning. A haptic warning is an immediate stab of the brakes, and it's literally a millisecond. When that happens, it's no different than you physically punching the brake on your vehicle just very quickly like that. So when you do that with your foot, whatever the system is doing, the brake does exactly the same thing as it would if you were hitting it with your foot, meaning that the brake lights would come on, the ABS would take control. Whatever happens with your foot, the system does exactly the same thing when it reacts. So there's been, not that I've seen, I've not seen any haptic warnings on bridges where it actually applied the brakes. Now, what happens is you're driving down the road at 65 mile an hour and say with the cruise control on, and the system says, whoa, I think there's something there, but it's really a bridge, but it's going to react like it thinks there's something there.
Right.
And it happens so quickly that it's just going to automatically kill that throttle. And then in an instant, it's going to get past that, and literally that fast it happens, and it's going to give you back your throttle. So
Yep.
if you're on a foot control, it's going to register that bridge, it's going to take away your throttle, and then it's going to immediately give it back to you. Or if you're on cruise control, it's going to kill the cruise control, and then you would have to reset the cruise control to start again.
Yep.
But what happens is when you're running 65 mile an hour down the road in an 80,000 pound vehicle in cruise control, minding your own business, listening to your music, listening to your book, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden the fuel just goes away, you feel an immediate reduction in speed.
Yep.
And it feels like potentially a brake application. But what we've done is Jeff and I and Andy have looked at hundreds of these. They've probably looked at thousands.
It
but,
seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, but I've looked at probably 100 of them, and we've never seen anything more than a 2 to 3 mile an hour reduction in speed. And what that is a result of is simply taking away the fuel, whether it be a foot control or whether it be the cruise control. So we're not seeing brake applications as a result of this. I'm not saying that a brake application, I'm not saying that it's never happened, that a haptic has not ever happened, but I am saying that that's not what we're seeing as a result of this. But we do recognize, and WABCO recognizes also, that there are some false positives that happen as a result of a bridge. They're working on the programming, they're trying to get it corrected and perfected, but WABCO, Meritor, and I think it's called the Assurance that Freightliner has on theirs, all three of them have the same issues.
Yeah.
For some reason, that area, they've been able to fix the sides, but that area up at top, they're still struggling with that. And the interesting part about it is, it's at like about 15 foot to about 17 foot. It's that range. So if it's 14.6, you're not going to get an alarm.
Right.
If it's 15, you'll get an alarm. But if it's 18, you won't get an alarm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not that. I don't understand that programming and such. But they're really working hard to try to perfect it, and they're getting closer all the time. But it's just a long process to try to correct those.
So the
things.
one thing on the haptic, does it apply the brake lights when it happens?
Absolutely. Anytime the system applies the brakes, it is no different than you applying the brakes.
Okay.
So the other thing that we've had happen is we've had drivers say, well, if I'm on ice or snow and it hits the brakes, I'm going to jackknife, I'm going to lose control. Well, that's not exactly true. The reason is because it's no different than you using your foot. If you're driving down the road and you slam on the brakes and the ABS says, nope, I'm not going to let you do that, it's not going to let the system do it
Yeah.
by itself either. It's going to take control of your brakes and manage those just like an ABS system or traction control system would, and it's not going to allow that to happen.
And hopefully you're not on cruise control on snow or ice.
And hopefully you're not on cruise control on snow or ice too. So
Good.
It's a very complicated system, but and Jeff will know better than I, and he may even have some numbers, but it certainly has made a difference in our rear collision avoidance type accidents. And there's no doubt that it has saved some drivers' jobs here as a result of mitigating and or eliminating those types of accidents.
Yep.
Am I right, Jeff?
Yeah, you're spot on with that. I mean, I'm looking at some numbers now that we went from, in 2016, we had 31 rear end collisions, down to 27 in 2017, 19 in 2018, and very few so far in 19.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, it's about the driver's record, and this technology saves jobs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just want to say that we continue to try to get this product right. We want this product to get better. We hear the drivers, and we look into every single one of these stories that they share with us about the braking and the bridge and the sign, and we react to it, and we try to get some answers and push back with the manufacturer of this. And I think we've had success in improving, in taking them information and improving the product.
Yeah, and I would just mention that too, that if a driver thinks there's an issue with the system, to get a hold of you, Andy can look at the data, or yourself can look at the data, and you guys know what to look for to determine whether or not maybe something does need to be looked at.
Yep.
And we can certainly look at that as well. So
Good.
we're more than happy to address any concerns that the driver has with the system.
Good discussion, guys. Appreciate that. So let's jump over to Dustin real quick. So as we look at one of our other initiatives in the company, and we've really been pushing hard on this really the last year, and probably even more so the first quarter of this year, is really fuel management, right? And then I think on the other piece of that, we've made a lot of changes with our internal system and technology on how to improve our fuel and route. So can you give us a little bit of insight about that and what's going on?
Sure, Greg. Yeah, so when we think about purchasing fuel here at CFI, it's really our second largest expense. And today we have technology and tools to help us make sure that when we spend the money for fuel, that we're doing it with responsibility and we're doing it with discipline. And so, as you mentioned, historically, when you think back to when we had OmniTracks, our compliance for fuel and route was over 70%.
Wow.
We transitioned over to PeopleNet, and we had some integration challenges with that change. But today, I'm proud to say that we're past all that, and so we're back to really asking and expecting 70% compliance on the fuel and route tool. So let's talk about what compliance means.
Yeah.
Compliance is that we'll send a routing to the driver when the dispatch occurs, and what we're providing to the driver is a route along with the fuel stop and then the amount of gallons to pick up at that fuel stop. So if you hit the routing, you hit the fuel stop, and you purchase the gallons, you get credit for compliance in that scenario.
Yep.
So again, when you think about 2,000 drivers all working together to save how we spend that money and be responsible about it, lots of savings to be had for CFI.
So you hit a key word there, right? Savings. And what are we trying to do with those savings? One of my big focuses is trying to make sure that we're reinvesting back into our tools, our technology, and more so our people. So saying that, we've got kind of an announcement or a tickler here, I guess, that we want to be able to share about a good news situation. So when we're talking about savings, this gives us that opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
So share with the team what's going on.
So before I get the opportunity to announce that, what I would like to share is that our compliance today is at 62% for the month of April. So when you take a look at March, we were in the low 50s. So our drivers are doing some really hard work today to help us get that compliance up. And so, to your point, Greg, when we're really good about how we spend CFI dollars, we can take those savings, reinvest back into the organization. And effective next Monday, we are increasing our detention pay from $12 an hour to $16 an hour for company drivers. So a really exciting announcement. And again, when we're really good about spending money, we can take it, reinvest into the equipment, to the technology, and back into the employees that help CFI be successful.
And most importantly, right, we don't want to have anybody getting detention pay, to be honest with you. Our goal is not to have that. But if they are, our focus is to make sure that we are at a minimum market competitive, and I think in some cases now we're getting to be where we're starting to lead the market in a lot of areas, which is really good news.
Absolutely.
Good,
Yep,
good.
Absolutely.
Well, Mr. Servine, who leads our sales and Mexico team, wanted to kind of get some insight as to what's going on in the first quarter and what have been some of the challenges that we've seen just from our perspective in the industry, and what are we doing about those things. So what's been kind of the market pulse here for the first quarter?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be here. It's my first time, and I'm excited about sharing what the sales organization is doing and what we're doing as an overall business unit to combat the shortage of shipments right now. What's happening in the economy. So a couple of different things, right? We all know that the first quarter has been challenging. Demand is soft and things of that nature, and especially coming off of a 2018 robust season. We were at the peak of decades of business, and all of a sudden we come first quarter and it's kind of like a slam. It's a complete halt, right? And so we're seeing all of those type of things. And some of the things that we believe that are contributing to this is we definitely have had a rough weather season, right?
Yeah.
In fact, we have one right now going on. We got snow up in the upper Midwest, and it's just crazy that we're already in April and we're still seeing this. rain out in the Midwest, right? Our farmers can't even get out to the fields and do
Yep.
their jobs. It was interesting having a conversation with one of the major manufacturers out there that they can't sell the equipment. Farmers can't get out to the fields, so they can't even sell the equipment, order parts, things of that nature. So there's challenges around that. We've had a late spring season, right?
Yep.
We're just starting to see some warming up. In fact, I was at one of the local hardware places, and finally everybody's buying plants and all
Yep.
those type of things. But we're already in April again. That should have started happening in late March. So there's been a reduction there. Produce season, the ag season, it's barely about to get started. So it appears that we're about kind of 2 to 4 weeks behind or
Yeah.
lagging from the normal seasonality that really get us that jump start, right?
Yep.
The other things that we're looking at is the whole tariff situation, the whole China and tariff situation. You know, many of our customers pulled forward product, right? They got them out on the go. They wanted to beat the tariffs and things of that nature. Talking recently to some of our customers, they've built up inventory in warehouses. So they're stacked in warehouses, but nobody's buying. So they're not buying, you know, they're not shipping end of day. So we hopefully, with everything moving from that perspective, we'll start to see traffic flowing again, right? We'll start to haul
Yep.
freight. The other big thing and the current thing that's going on is what's happening in Mexico, right?
Yep.
We've seen the border situation. The CBP personnel have been redeployed. 750 agents have been sent to different borders, causing a reduction in the lines being able to cross across the borders. So what really the impact is, there's a significant impact in the northbound shipments. There are lines at different borders up to 12 miles long waiting in line. So when the CBP puts out information that, hey, there's delays from 2 to 4 hours northbound, they're just talking about the pure border crossing section. They're not even talking to you about what the line is in Mexico. So
Yep.
closest border that really has minimal wait time, about 3 hours. And the biggest one, we're seeing up to 12 hours wait time right now.
Yep.
So significant impact in our northbound shipments, right? Normally we have a lot in Laredo, that's our main port, and we're okay right now. We still have a lot of shipments, drivers come in, we can really get them out the door pretty quick, but we don't have as much on the yard, right?
Yeah.
The other impact, it turns around for our customers in Mexico. As many trucks is not coming across, guess what? There's not that many trucks going in,
Yep.
right? So what used to happen from these transfer companies doing 3 to almost 4 turns in a day, they're only doing 1 turn. Significant impact in the flow of freight.
So I think the big key is this, Mike, and from what I'm hearing is, it sounds to me like obviously weather's got to break here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to see a pickup, and we think with produce season, getting all the refrigerated trucks out of the dry network, we're going to see a different market than what we have today. We think Mexico will slowly start to get back to somewhat of a normalcy.
Right.
And from what we're hearing is, you know, with the China trade deal, things are getting a little bit better there, and I think inventories are starting to flow a little bit more right now. So, you know, folks always say is this, hang with us. What I will tell you is our team has done a really good job in the first quarter to make that impact less for you than most of our competitors. And I can tell you from a results standpoint, a lot of our competitors are very, very concerned about what's going on in the marketplace, and we've done a fantastic job in making sure that our drivers are continually moving. There's going to be pockets and there's going to be times, I'm not going to lie to you, where there's going to be more challenges, but on the other side of the wall, we know that the worm's going to turn and we're going to see things improve, and I can tell you this team here is very focused on making sure that that happens for you. So hang with us. We know that there's good things coming, and please stay positive with us. The last thing I wanted to do is talk about really some nice things that's got going on is the pipeline, and what is the sales team working on. I know we've had some really good wins and a lot of customers giving us just unbelievable feedback here recently.
So, you know, what's really interesting about that is, being that it's soft, a lot of customers are putting out their networks out to bid,
Yep.
right? So they're out there trying to really buy down freight. And so they're putting them out there. What's really incredible is, last year, I could say we had our best season in the number of bids that we received. And even though it may be some of our customers putting out their business out to bid, we're getting new opportunities, different customers that we never had access to that are, you know, allowing us to join. So last year, for example, at this point in time through March, we had 149 bids. And when we talk about a bid can be multi-millions. I mean, we're talking about 10, 20, $30 million of a freight network. Right now, we are at 202.
Wow. So 50 more almost.
50 more. So you're almost like, wow, how does that happen? But with that, I'll tell you, we've seen new customers coming on board. So we've seen Treehouse, we've seen Kohl's, Wayfair, McCormick, AT&T, Siemens, L'Oreal, True Value, and you think about those brands, those names.
Big names.
They're huge names. They're multi-million-dollar bids that are out there that we're working with them closely from a commercial standpoint and trying to develop that relationship and get in-house. So that's kind of what's in your pipeline right now. And those are just the big name brands. We have multi-millions, probably close to about $500 million in our pipeline right now. What we've recently closed is even great. We've had an increase in Pirelli tires out of Mexico. We were doing about a couple 100,000, 200,000-300,000, and now the recent bid we got 1.6 million.
Wow!
Great story out of that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to be long haul, right? When you get out of Laredo, you got to go through Texas. So it's great long haul freight for our drivers, which is fantastic, right?
Yep.
We have Samsung. That's another roughly about a $1.2 million increase as well. So
Okay.
great stuff. Unison, $1.5 million increase. Unilever, another new account, $1.5 million. And this is stuff that we've started to haul or about to start in April. So those are things that we really need to get going.
So some of this has not even come on board yet.
Yeah, some of this is just, we were awarded the business.
Yeah.
And it's going to start April.
Wow.
So we've got really good stuff in our pipeline, things about to turn on. I've got a plenty of more to tell you about, but that's enough for now.
I think the one thing that we've heard loud and clear is Dustin and I and Mike and Mr. Hens has been out visiting customers, and the biggest thing that we hear about CFI coming back is our service, right? And I think that's what really has given us the opportunity to be able to execute and win some of this new business where other carriers aren't today. And I would tell you that's a testament to each one of our professional drivers out there, because folks, that's what we've been known for 60 plus years, and that's what we are known for today. And again, we couldn't be more appreciative of you guys and gals doing your jobs out there day in and day out to make sure that we're delivering our freight safely and securely every time. And that's what gives us the opportunity to bring more and more into the pipeline. So it's a really big win for us. And again, Mike can go on for hours about this, but folks, I'll just say this. It's been great. Appreciate you guys coming in and talking to all these things. I think hopefully it's a little bit of different twist to our insider, but hopefully it gives good inside information on what's going on in the company. And most importantly, folks, we appreciate everything you do for us. Be safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good one.